from Brian Lilly. Carney wins with just shy of 86% of the vote. Freeland got 8%. Gould and Bayless each got 3%. Liberal coronation. So why say liberal coronation? Well, let's see. Katie Telford, Gerald Butts, Trudeau's people backing Mark Carney. The CBC and the corporate media got the hint very quickly. You saw an enormous amount of positive Mark Carney coverage. All of his many gaffes and mistruths so far, all totally spun. No big deal. It's just being imprecise. When he claims that the United States gets almost all of their semiconductors from Canada, and a guy like him, a tough guy like him, could maybe those semiconductors could just stop arriving in the States. All the leverage he has. Yeah, it turns out it's less than 1%. Totally made up. Totally made up. Well, he's not speaking precisely at all times. He's not speaking, precisely meaning telling the truth. Only in Canada can an unelected private citizen with 3 passports be chosen as the country's leader. So much for democracy. And by the way, part of the coronation of Mark Carney was not just the obvious adoration from the media. It was also the leadership race itself was just a mutual admiration society. All the other candidates they'd all just given up already. It was all just a formality so it could look like they were having some sort of leadership race. None of them took it seriously. It was clear that they were just letting him have it, letting him take it without any struggle whatsoever. There was nothing. You'd almost would have thought that, he's their hero. Katrina Gould and Bayless and Chrystia Freeland. All right, I want to hear this. Dan McTeague about Mark Carney, talking about that he's got Gerald Butts and Katie Telford, who are Trudeau's people with him. It should be alarming, aside from the fact that he's been advising Trudeau since at least 2020. At least 2020. And when you take a look at Mark Carney's book, it's clear why what's happened to Canada has happened to Canada. Because Trudeau was listening to Mark Carney. But let's continue.
What, cutting through everything, what should Canadians really be afraid of with Mark Carney?
Well, trying to find where this party finds itself on the spectrum has it at the far left. It isn't the center where we were, and it wasn't a party that pursued socialism. But this is a party that, and its apparent would-be leader, Mark Carney, would like to see systems like social credit. So in other words, reduce the standard of living in the country, have people driving around on bicycles in their 15-minute cities, which is why Stephen Guilbeault supported him. Impose on Canadians hardship, the likes of which they are starting to experience and they don't like, while at the same time the rest of the world is passing us by, watching our economic performance, our GDP per capita drop to the lowest levels among OECD countries inevitably. This is a man who represents continuity of bad policy. Has been lifted on a silver spoon, and I take nothing away from the fact that he's probably very talented at what he does, but he's not suited for what is required in politics, and that's the ability to understand ordinary person's struggles. He doesn't get it. In fact, he's had everything to do with making the life and the ordeal of most Canadians that much more arduous and difficult. And so for that reason, he is an easier target, in my view, than Justin Trudeau. We know Trudeau was a bit of a goof, never really all he had was the last name. But he's done some really dumb things. Mark Carney is very unapologetic. The very fact that he has Gerald Butts and Katie Telford and the same group of liberals behind Justin Trudeau behind him, that should be an alarm.
Once Mark Carney is subjected to the kind of scrutiny that's coming, I don't think he's going to be as popular, but the message needs to get out about what he really is and what he really stands for. So from Viva Fry here, 150,000 people just decided Canada's next prime minister. A 3-passport carrying World Economic Forum. He was on the board of the World Economic Forum. Globalist. Don't forget, as self-professed elitist. Climate crisis mania. Davos whore. Well, that's harsh. That's very harsh. Understand that. Yes, so 150,000 people just decided Canada's next prime minister. Until the next election, I do not believe Mark Carney will win the next election.
But I'm working with Carney, surprise, and I'm trying to get a rental program in where people can put it into a 25-year pool, get a preferred rate from CMHC, and let's allow foreign buyers to buy it. They have to rent it out for 25 years, and it'll show the world that we are open for business.
Okay, so that's just what Canadians want. More foreign buyers of Canadian real estate. Just what Canadians want. This is the kind of stuff that it needs to be made clear to the Canadian people that they can expect from a Carney government. The Post refers to Rennie, a prominent real estate developer in Vancouver, collaborating with Mark Carney, a former Bank of Canada governor and potential Liberal Party, well, he is the Liberal Party leader now, to use the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation to finance pre-sales of properties to foreign buyers. To foreign buyers. Why we have a housing crisis? It says aiming to stabilize or boost the Canadian housing market. Are you sure it's going to go over very well? And you're sure it's actually going to do that? Boosting it by making it more expensive? Is that what they're talking about? Because this is not going to go over well. So right now, wanting to facilitate and encourage foreigners buying Canadian properties. Well, his book is called Value, and then in brackets S, so value, values, and it's about this kind of delineation between like societal values, what's good for a society, and value, like the value of things, the cost of things, what things cost, which is not like strikingly original, right? But his view seems to be that central planners should just determine the value of everything, not people. So it shouldn't just be you deciding, okay, well, people deciding what they're willing to pay for something, which determines prices ultimately in free markets, right? He wants to make that decision because the thing you might want, like a internal combustion engine car, may not be good for our values. And by our values, he means his values. And also, too, is that kind of his spider web, his labyrinth of connections with God knows what. I mean, look, he still hasn't released his financials. We don't know what he's invested in, what his interests are, but we know from him working with like asset managers like Brookfield, for instance, right? He's working with companies. He's investing in companies. What exactly is going on? His values might align more with things that he's invested in. Again, we don't know because he hasn't released his financials, and he won't. In fact, hold on a second. I had something. Oh, here we go. Okay, from Michelle Rempel Garner. Carney, who has gone through the entire race and will be sworn in as PM without disclosing his assets and potential conflicts of interest, mocks flaunting ethics rules in his acceptance speech. So let's take a look.
Full disclosure. I know the leader of the opposition's into full disclosure, so I'm going to... Full disclosure. Full disclosure. Just want to get this on the table. Bob goes to my church.
Well, the reason we want to know is because we want to know if you're going to use this position to enrich yourself. That's what we want to know, and we think it's a real concern. Enrich yourself, enrich your friends. Let's not forget you're now leading the Liberal Party of the Green Slush Fund. So, I mean, this is a genuine concern. After 10 years of a Justin Trudeau Liberal Party that has been mired in scandal after scandal after ethics violation after ethics violation in a row. These are real concerns. In fact, they probably shouldn't be mocked. Not by you. Not if you're not going to tell us why we shouldn't be worried. Prove why we shouldn't be worried. I think the simple answer to this is he's not going to do it, at least not yet, because he knows it will hurt him. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.